Yeah.
So they moved to Galveston and they lost everything they had in the business down there. So Grandpa came back to Hitchcock. Well, they still lived here. So my daddy told him to come on back. Spend a few hours a day down there and give him read the paper and file his business. He took care of him.
When you said your grandparents lived here, can you tell us, Mr. Henckel, where exactly the Tackard, your grandparents lived, both of the people in those pictures?
The Tackards,
And that'd be,
they lived out on the, you know, when the street goes out and dead ends out there by the right bar. That big house on the corner where the Farleys live in now, Babbitt's, and they're right across from the Moody's. You know where the Moody's live?
Mildred's house that Mildred Smith's in now.
Well, that was my grandpa's homestead.
So that's out on J Road.
Well,
Yeah.
Jay is further out.
But it's close to the Right Mile property
Right
also.
across the street.
Was part of the Right Mile property, I imagine.
No,
Was it all the same?
No,
or?
it was, my grandpa had that, I don't know how many acres he had in there. But when all the kids was married, well, he went to live with the Jewel Tackard.
Okay, and your grandfather's name, once again, was, the grandfather that lived on J Road, that was Tackard, right?
Tackard, Henry.
Henry Tackard.
Henry Tackard.
Okay. And your other grandparents, did your other grandparents live in Hitchcock and where?
Henckel?
Well, no, these two people, I'm sorry.
Well, that's-
These would be your great,
These are my grandparents.
okay,
That's
the
my
other
dad's-
side,
that's my
your
dad's
maternal,
grandfather.
your
They lived in
paternal.
Hitchcock from the time, after 1900 storm, from the time they died.
And where did they live in Hitchcock?
Right next to where Cecil's lived.
Okay, the
That's-
home of
that's Adams
Cecil
Street, right
Hinckel
next-
on Highway 6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our home was on the corner of, that's 4th Street. 4th Street and Thompson.
Across from the present location of the Hitchcock Chamber?
Yeah,
Yeah.
4th Street. You see, after the 1900 storm, out here where the blood place is a high ridge. And all this material, lumber and everything, Galveston flowed out their houses, flew up. And my dad got 2 guys and sent them out there with a team, and they cleaned up enough lumber for that damage out there to build our house with.
But from the lumber from the 1900 storm
Yeah.
that floated in from Galveston to here.
Clean up enough to build a house.
And that's the house by Cecil's house.
Well, there was one in the corner, but it's been moved to Alpha.
But it was all from lumber from,
That house was built out of all stone lumber, all framing lumber.
it's
Only
incredible.
thing it was new was the windows and the siding and stuff like that, but all the frame stuff was, so.
Now, the Hinckel house, the one that on J Road, can you tell us what that house looked like, or?
Well, I don't really remember, it wasn't very much of a house, it was just a little small place.
But it was out there, and that's where they lived?
That's where we moved when they moved from Hallsville.
Oh, and they lived in Hallsville one time?
That's where they settled, that's where my grandpa settled. And grandma settled when they married on.
Oh, and this is close to Danbury, or in?
Well, after that was the Bull Bush, but to Danbury.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'll tell you about the Bull Bush.
Yeah, tell us about the
All
Muller.
right, Godfrey Bull.
Mr. Hinckel, I really appreciate you letting us come to your house
Well,
today.
it's a pleasure.
And we would like to do some more of these interviews, and thank you so much.
Well, if you all have time, you got something else you have to do.
We'll make time.
All right? That's how we do, we'll have a little lunch and then we'll finish.
Sure. Thank you.
Let me see how,
The bouncing white ball.
Yes.
okay, the Muller family,
We're back at the Hinckel house. We never left. It is still February 15th, 1996, and Mr. Hinckel's daughter Dickie served us a very nice lunch, and we're going to talk some more to Mr. Hinckel, and I think we're going to talk about the Moeller family.
Godfrey Muller was my great-grandfather. He and his wife his wife was an English gal. They settled in Texas City in 1848. I have some copies of letters that he had written to his mother, and his mother had written to him in Germany. She was trying to get over here, and they were very poor. And one of the letters said that his mother said that she thanked him for the $1.50 that he had sent because she really needed it. And a lot of the other families settled through the United States. But Godfrey settled in Texas City. And he bought this right of illegal land for 15 cents an acre on Dollar Point, which is east of Texas City now. And years later, well, he sold that for 35 cents an acre and bought land in Missouri County over in Austin, Bible. He owned a lot of land over in Austin, Bible, Hanks and Liverpool. And the rest of his family settled over there. The boys, Dan settled to Danbury. Danbury was named after him,
And his name was Dan Mulder.
Dan Buller. And George settled at Liverpool. And the girls settled around Alvin and Manville.
And this Godfrey was your grandfather?
My
Great-grandfather.
mother's grandfather.
And they came from Germany, you also said, you already said that.
He left Germany when he was 14 years old to keep from going to German army. He was born and raised in Hanover, Germany. And he left Germany at 14 and went to work on a whaling ship. And I guess that's where he met his wife. She's an English girl.
And her name was?
Her name was Sarah Abbott.
And they got married?
And they married and settled over in Texas City.
Mm.
That's where my grandmother was probably born. That's
Yes.
Henckel.
And that would be?
My grandmother's name was Polly Ann.
Okay, and we're going to look at their pictures very quickly. This is Godfrey, Mr. Henckel, am I right?
That's my grandpa Henckel.
And his name's, oh, this is
Charles
Henckel.
Henckel Sr.
Okay. And the molars, did you have a picture of them, or?
And this is
Yeah.
this
okay.
is my grandfather Henry Tackard and Polly Ann Tackard.
Okay. And how were they related to the molars?
Polly Ann was a Moeller. She was Godfrey's daughter.
This was Godfrey's daughter
That was
then?
Godfrey's daughter. My grandmother was Godfrey's daughter.
Ah, and okay. Can you tell us about any other old families, Mr. Henckel? Tell me a little more about the Hepler family.
Heplers?
And how they came here and where they
Well,
lived.
They lived on down there in Car Gully. That's where they settled. And Grandpa Hepler worked for my dad for years. And the boys, Clyde and Hartley, Herb, and John, what was it, John Albert?
John Albert.
John Albert. Everybody called him Hep. That's the only name everybody
They
Hep.
called him Bino too.
You know he got that name?
No, I wonder.
Back in years, a stove came in from Sears Roebuck, and on the crate it had a B, an N-O, and a number. He kept Bino. Somebody said, well, we just call you Bino. That's how he got his name. Everybody got a nickname. Didn't
All his life he was Bino, and I never knew why.
they?
Now
That crate came from Sears Roebuck, had that B number, and he kept Bino. He couldn't figure out what that was. He was just a little kid, about 10, 11 years old.
So you were Mr. Bert Hepler Sr. He was a close friend of yours, and you were close in age, right, Mr. Henckel?
Yeah.
You were in close. You and Bert Sr. were close in age.
Oh,
then.
yeah.
And can you tell us about some of the things you remember doing with him as a child, maybe?
Some of them wouldn't take me to tell. No, we had girlfriends in Texas City. We go over there and pick up the girls on every other night.
Be careful what you tell Dave.
One night, he went into the Marine Corps. After he got out of the Marine Corps, my mother had a little roadster, and I'd borrow it all the time. We'd go and get these two girls and old hip. But one night, he got to sit up on, had the top down, and sit up on the back to him. We was all around Dickerson, all of a sudden, I noticed he's gone. Couldn't figure what happened to him. He slid off the back of the car. Just looking out. Over there around Dickerson, they had a cafe right there on the corner. All the soldiers from Elgin Field used to hang around. But they asked one of those soldiers, said, "Did you see a crazy Marine around here?" He was hiding behind them. We finally found him after a while. But he pulled all kinds of tricks like that, too.
And he was in the services, I remember,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
He went in the Marine Corps.
Yes.
Yeah, Herb, his older brother, decided to go in the Marine Corps, and I told him he was going, and he said, "Well, I'm going too." So his dad was, well, in fact, he was waiting for my daddy at the time.
Now, this would have been World War I, right?
No, two.
Two?
No, no.
Okay.
No, one, wait a minute, one, yeah.
One?
Yeah, one. And he said, well, I'm going too, so he and her listed together.
What other families can we talk about? I know we've missed some. We've talked about Matrangers.
Well, the Triangles were late comers here. Trossel was about the oldest Italian
Oh.
family.
Okay.
Trossel family and the Brino family.
What about Beltrami? When did they come?
Oh.
Beltrami's down there by Boots.
Well, Beltramis came here about, I guess, long just for 1920. Beltrami and the Cortinas came, no, they came 1912. Cortinas came 1912. And the Beltrami came at the same time.
What about Guthries?
Who?
Guthrie?
Chuck Butchie.
Well, the Butcheries were the whole family.
Yeah.
They were bunch of the first French people. Well, the first people in Hitchcock were mostly French. The Beguines, the Boutries, the Renaults, Precious, the Giroux, the Vaucher, they're all French. Settled over, Boutries settled out here west of town.
What part of France? Do you have any idea where they came from in France or anything like that?
Most of these came, now the Vauchers came from the Swiss, they came from Switzerland. But the others came from, well, my grandfather came from Alsace, France.
Yeah, which is,
Which is
I think
down-
they spoke German and they,
Well, I thought that the predominant language in Switzerland was French, but it's not, it's German.
yeah.
We were over there 1974, I think, and the kids have to have second language in school. To get to fourth grade, you have to take a second language, and they all took English.
Mhm.
And German and English, most of it spoken. But I was surprised, I thought it was predominantly French, but it wasn't.
We haven't talked about some of the early black families that moved here, and you told me a story years ago, Mr. Henckel, of how the first black families moved
The
here.
first black families that I can remember was the Cy Easton family. I used to have letters from my mom. And they lived right down here. He worked with my daddy most of the time, yard working. And his
How do you
wife
spell their
worked-
last name?
Huh?
How do you spell their last name?
Easton, Easton.
Okay.
And they had a boy named Mike, he was the youngest boy, and he was always in trouble, always in jail. Well, he was about a young teenager, and he went hunting with white boys in a boat. They got out here around Greens on the bay, and he took the gun up and shot his own off, right, completely off. And it took him about 5 or 6 hours before they got him, and he got him to the hospital, and he had his arm cut off right there. But he could take a Model T Ford engine out by himself. He could do things that any two-armed man could do.
Hmm.
And he was in the penitentiary most of the time. He'd get out, he'd steal something, get back. He said, hell, it's too tight up there. He was trusted. He'd get out for a month, he'd steal something, go back again. So he didn't want to get out. They were the first. In the later years, well, a lot about 1910, 11, Seaborn Kid told me this. He came here from Oklahoma. This guy had on a green officer's cap, parade on it, and he was listing families to go back to Africa. He had a deal, he was going to take them back to Africa. They were going to get land in this little nation they call Liberia over there. And he had a boat that was coming in at a certain time, and they paid him so much, he's going to, well,
Where was the boat going to come in?
to Galveston. Boat was supposed to come into Galveston. Well, these people come down here to meet down on the wharf when the boat was supposed to show up, and the boat didn't show up, and it was Captain Bill. He already had their money.
Well, okay, so the boat came in to but how did they get to Hitchcock from here?
Well, they moved up here. Now, the Kid family, and 2 or 3 other families. Mike's, remember Mike's?
Mhm.
Mike's, Ken folks, well, Gus Mike, they were in the deal, and another guy, another was on the side. And they had to settle where they could find something. Kind of had to start farming.
So they just ended it.
So then Captain
But
Bill,
this captain took their life savings, as I
Captain Bill took their
understand.
money, and the boat never showed up.
Okay. What about the Caldwell family?
Who?
Caldwell?
Oh, they were an old family. The old man lived out off of 519 back out in there, and he worked a long time for Martin Polk. And they were a pretty nice black family.
And the Phelps?
Well, Phelps family came here, they lived out around Hall's Bow. Phelps and Crosby, Nelson Crosby and Will Crosby was Clarence Phillips' uncle. And they all moved out on 2nd Street about the same time, on the early part of,
Where on Second Street did they live?
well, 2nd Street, the old house is still out there, about to fall down.
Is it kind of close to the library?
About 2 blocks down on this
Okay.
side. Old broken down houses, they're all dead, and nobody takes care of them.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Mr. Moulton?
And Moulton, old man Moulton was here.
I'm talking about Moulton had the grocery store.
No,
Moulton had the grocery store out there.
I don't remember him.
Old man Moulton, he had a,
and they were now, we can't think of his name.
we used to walk out back of Grandpa's farm over this store back out there by the school.
That was Franklin's, wasn't it?
Franklin, that's right.
Franklin, yeah.
Franklin's store.
Franklin had a
Moulton
store.
lived next door to us.
Yeah,
This is a black man?
yeah.
Uh-huh.
He was a pretty nice guy. We had some pretty nice black people here.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Brown, grandpa. His sister was married to Baxter. Bill Brown's sister was married to Baxter, and he had another sister, school teacher. Well, old man Webb was a preacher, a little short, duck, and they had a broken down church down there on the Bible, didn't have any windows, had the windows open, but no glass on them. And the white boys would go down there and watch them when they was having church. And this preacher put a cedar tree up in the middle of the hall there, and he had his skin, had greased it. And he'd get down there and he'd climb up about 2 feet and he'd fall on the floor. And he said, you see, he says, how hard it is to go to heaven, how easy it is to fall. And he'd flop down the floor.
Baxter, you said they were another early family, didn't they?
Well, Baxter was akin to, Miss Baxter was, his wife.
And she taught school.
She taught school there for years, yeah.
Right. Let's see, there was another one. I don't know. Can you
I
think of
can't,
any?
I can't think of the names right now.
Remember Bill Carter?
They had a
Oh,
Carter
yeah,
family.
well,
was
he
here.
used to sing for
They had a
us.
big family.
He used to take the cows
They had a boy
out.
who was off mentally. Big fat boy, walk around town. He wasn't dangerous or anything, everybody just picked on him a little bit and hurrah him.
Um,
And then out here on, off 2nd Street, that street goes down there. There's a black guy lived there in 1915 storm. The house is about this high off the ground. The water come in the house and he got up in the attic. Well, next morning the water went down, there's a 5-foot alligator downstairs and he was up in the attic.
I would be. Okay, the 1915 storm. Tell us how it affected Hitchcock. How far did the water come?
About 100 feet east of 519 highway.
Mhm.
And out south, all those houses out there just floated around like corks in a bucket.
You mean like out the Robinson Road area? That?
Well, from Robinson Road this way, they floated in out there where Shire Road, all back there, the water's about 4 foot deep. Along there where Neil Connell lives, Council Kimball place. And they had a big barn there, one of these dredge boat pontoons about that high, floating up against the barn.
Mm.
And D.T. Palmer lived in a little house right close to Facetta's, and it floated right up in the middle of the road. He sit there. He got it out about a month later.
Was there a lot of wind with that storm? I mean,
We went to Galveston. We didn't have radio or television or anything like that. We had a barometer. We went to Galveston Sunday night and riding around and had a slow northeast wind blowing. And that's generally an indication of the storm coming. And they had, on the old trust building was the weather bureau, and they put out a warning bulletin every 4 hours. Well, we came on back home, and that Monday morning, yeah, the weather was getting squally and pretty hard raining. And by noon, the wind was blowing about 60, 70 miles an hour in. Well, I had a bunch, 2 or 3 aunts and a bunch of kids, Galveston. They came out on the last train over the causeway, and the water was a foot deep over the rails in the yard. And the train just snuck along there at a slow speed, and it took about 2.5 hours to get to Hitchcock from Galveston. When they come over the causeway, well, the water was